The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience. Because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun, and we are recording this at the Anderson House at our event with Dave Schrader in front of a live audience. Ah, wow. And that's it. I don't know how we can even top this. So first of all, thank you to the Anderson House for getting us in here and doing this event. And then, of course, thank you to our guest today, Mr. Dave Schrader, joining us. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great. Thanks again for having me on the show.
Oh, my God. Well, thanks for being here. This is your first time at the Anderson.
Yes.
What do you think?
It is definitely a hotel.
That's all we wanted to know.
This is really beautiful. I can't believe that I've been a resident of Minnesota for 35 years. Yeah. I went to Winona College and never came here, never knew about this place. An untapped gemstone. So I'm glad I got a chance to come and investigate with you guys.
So last night, as we're recording this is the second day of the event. Last night we all went in groups and we did paranormal investigations. What do you all think out there of this place investigating? I threw him off. I didn't say we're going to do two woos, so yeah. You all did very well. What did you think?
It was a little quiet for me in the basement, but when we got responses, it was pretty profound. So it's kind of like real-life investigating, not what you see on TV, right? Yeah. People forget that when you're watching TV, we've been there many days and filming 10 to 12 hours a day, and then when we do the investigations, it might have been an 8 or 10 hour investigation to give you that 3 seconds of evidence at the end of the episode. So I always feel bad because I feel like when people are with me, I've got to make something happen, and I want there to be EVP. And for two of the groups, it was quiet. The other two groups, we got a lot of activity, some yells, some screams. I pounded on the door of this locked room, and something pounded back. So that was definitely unsettling.
When you said that last night, I thought, wow, that is pretty cool, actually. Tonight I'm going to be down in the speakeasy, so I'm going to definitely just pretty much copy everything you did.
Excellent.
Yeah, no creativity whatsoever.
Why should there be?
No.
Just following the footsteps of greatness, and great things happen.
Yeah, just as you're telling us how
Why are you people laughing at that comment?
So,
obviously, Greg's audience, not mine.
Yeah, right. No, we know we have a lot of Dave fans. Everyone's a Dave fan, right?
I would have accepted that answer had you not raised your hand to make them all clap.
I wanted to make sure it went well for you.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
So now. Hopefully we can do an event with you again sometime.
Yes,
but
I'd love to.
Probably are booked out for the next 60, 70 weeks, my guess.
Well, it depends on when you're airing this episode.
Right. If it's 60 to 70 weeks.
Yeah, so then my schedule will be clear by the time this episode airs. I'm booked pretty much right now until mid-December.
Wow.
I'll be out of town doing events. I'll be doing a trip to England with about 35 of my listeners.
That's fantastic.
And then not only we're going to be in England doing a trip and tour, we're going to stop into a paranormal conference where I'll be a speaker for 3 days, and we're going to have a good time. And then I'm off to, I believe it's New Orleans in November. We just dropped Australia. We're going to be doing the first 10 days of March. So I love getting out on the road and seeing these places and meeting amazing people like this.
They are, and I'm not trying to be a suck up or anything, but this is a pretty good group this weekend. You all are pretty amazing, and
one person agreed with you.
Yeah, I mean,
Woo.
See what happens when you don't raise the hand.
That's right.
I mean, it's very clear that they need guidance. They're good people,
but every time you raise your hand, most of them flinch.
Yeah.
It's not the response you want.
Well, and she's just like every time, like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. So with that being said, so the trip to England is going to be through Maria, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
I wanted to suggest to her, because we had been talking about stuff, that she should do a trip to England where it's hitting, like, there's so many people in America that love British television, that it should be hitting all the locations of famous British television series, especially Doctor Who.
Oh, did I forget to mention that next November 2024, we're doing an England Doctor Who tour?
Are you really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no, you didn't mention that.
I just did.
Yeah.
Just email me, Dave at paranormal60.com, Dave at paranormal60.com, and I can send you information about the upcoming trips we're doing for 2024.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm a huge Whovian.
I know.
And it was so cute when Maria first posted about it. She's like, so for all of you Whoville people, oh yeah, that's gonna go over real well.
Isn't that the people who from Green Acres live there? No, that's Hooterville.
Hooterville,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
Hard to confuse those two things, Hooters and Who's.
Well, looks like I'll need to edit. No, I'm just kidding. So one of the things we're going to be doing, everyone here has written down a question that they wanted to ask you. A burning question for Dave Schrader. And
because of my rider, where I don't allow people to actually look me in the eye or speak to me directly, we've had them write it on paper.
No, and some were just fearful.
Understandable.
No, they were.
I'm a known spitter.
I mean, the same one that every time I do this and she flinches, it's the same, you know. So what we're going to do, and we have about 9 minutes in our first segment, we'll get to a couple. Take your time answering. I know we joked off air that you talk a lot.
Why are you getting flinchy saying it? We joked off air, Dave. That was funny, right? You're not mad? No, I'm a bit of a talker. I understand.
No, it's what we call radio, right?
Right.
So we have Shar Savoy that you might remember from such programs as this one, where she's going to ask the question, so we don't have to hear my voice the entire time. See, this is what happens when people abuse the arm lift. So why don't we go ahead and, Shar, what do we have for Dave to start with?
Okay, so this question does not have a name on it, so I'm not sure who asked it.
Thanks for following the rules.
Yeah, right? So if you could travel back in time, what era would you choose, and where or who would you haunt?
All right, listen, I used to think about this a lot. And I always thought it'd be great to be like in either the Roaring 20s or the Pilgrim days. And then I thought there's no air conditioning, so screw that. And there's a lot of outdoors activities involved in that. Again, not a big fan. If I could go back in time, you know what? If I could go back in time anywhere, I would go back to 1967, the year of my birth, to where the Patterson-Gimlin film was filmed, and watch the moment unfold with my own eyes. That would be the one thing I would really love to see, because I want to believe so much that that is real footage, and it is one of the best pieces of evidence, and there are so many naysayers out there, but as technology gets better and science is trying to break down the footage and prove that it's a man in a costume, every evolution of technology is only proving more and more that this is a bipedal hairy hominid and not somebody in a costume.
Depending, once again, when this episode airs, we have M.K. Davis. I don't know if that name's familiar. He's been up-resing and doing work on the film to try to restore it and get some more detail out of it.
Sure.
The thing is with that, to my knowledge, unless you tell me otherwise, maybe you know better, the actual film doesn't exist, does it? It's only copies of that film. So I get my point I'm getting at is I just don't know, like, what's the starting point? What's the source for that restoration? So that's going to be interesting to find out.
Well, I know that the original film was digitized, so they've got the original digitalization version of it that exists, and I'm friends with like Ronnie LeBlanc and a couple of the other major people in the Bigfoot field who have seen the full footage. And if you go on YouTube, you can actually see, I think it's more like a 13-minute piece of footage. So you get to see a much longer piece of footage of Bigfoot walking away and going into the woods, as opposed to that like 6 seconds of footage that everybody sees. So there is some cool stuff, but that would be, to me, that would be a cool moment, right? I mean, I've had ghostly encounters, I've seen UFOs. I think I had a Bigfoot encounter when I was about 12 years old, but it was so distant from me and so weird. I really want to know more. I want to see that experience.
And I like the idea. I mean, this wasn't really an idea, but I've always kind of thought that when we pass, what if, one of the perks of crossing over or whatever is time travel, that you could go and maybe go anywhere, and I could go to England and watch those missing episodes of Doctor Who, because that's where my first mind goes to, not see my grandma or my family. Let's go see Doctor Who and get a ghost, right? And get a ghost like DVD recorder or something, so I could record them and watch them in my cloud.
That's what they like in heaven when you're pirating TV.
Yeah, well,
that's great.
Yeah, well, if they don't have
special room for you,
if they don't have antenna or something, I can't get it. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Shar, what else do we got?
Okay, this one is from Cynthia. What is the oldest building you have investigated?
Well, the castles I've been in Europe. I mean, those are some of the oldest buildings, I think I've been in one that was made in like 900 AD, and so many others throughout time and history. So it's hard to say. I can't remember all the dates on them, but I've been in England, France, Germany, Prague, Australia, Romania. So I've been in a lot of old buildings, and it's amazing to me that they still stand, right? And then here in Minnesota, houses that were built in 1985 are already falling in on themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or our city tears them down.
Right.
But that's a whole other thing. Do you ever, like when you're going to all these other countries, and I suspect I know the answer, but I'd like to ask you all the same, is like, do you approach investigating these places any different than you would in a country where you know the language?
Well, no, not really. I mean, usually when I'm there, we have a historian or somebody that speaks the two languages, English and wherever we're at, and they can usually inform me of the, what we need to know in the details. So no, not really. I mean, I just try to give it my moment of being there and fully invest myself in allowing the space to talk to me and be a part of it.
That's great. Anything like jump out about any of the places in Europe that just, even if it's not even paranormal, that you're just like, that just sticks with me?
Here's something interesting. I never knew my biological father, right? And I only met him 5-6 years ago. And when I was visiting Romania, I felt very drawn to Romania. I felt like if I could retire anywhere in the world, this would be the place. It's just amazing. Plus, our money over there is worth thousands more than it's worth here, right? So I could have a $10 an hour job and live like a king, right? Which in radio is about what we make. So you laugh, it's true.
Yeah, right.
So Romania really called to me when I found my biological father. It turns out that we have Romanian gypsy in our bloodline, and my great-great-grandmother was a famous Scottish gypsy queen. Cool. So, it's kind of a neat little aspect to learn your lineage and realize, wow, these places I feel drawn, like Scotland and Romania, there's a good reason for it.
That is amazing, actually.
Yeah.
I bet that just adds more. And were you expecting that when you went out there? I mean, did you expect to find that, or you purposely, when you went out there, you purposely like, I'm gonna look into this?
Like I said, I only met my bio dad about 5-6 years ago, and I went to Romania 12 years ago. So, and Scotland 8 years ago. So I've been to these places long before I knew my biological father or my ties to these locations.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Shar.
So.
Okay, I have a question for you.
All right.
Why did she get all seductive when she did? I have a question for you.
I'm trying to butter them up here.
Okay.
How much time do we have? Because I have a really good question that's going to take some time to answer, or I can ask a different one.
We have about just over a minute.
Oh, okay, then we'll do a really quick one. So
maybe it depends on Dave's answer.
Well, this is from Sarah. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a radio show host. When I was very little, I grew up in the Chicagoland area. I loved radio. I used to call famous radio show hosts who would actually take my call, and we would chat, and they would answer my questions. So I set that intention in motion back when I was 7 and 8 years old. I used to do pretend radio shows in my garage with my old tape deck. So that's what I always wanted to be, and here I am at the age of 56. and I've finally achieved that goal. So
I just got to say, me too. It's the same thing as a child, just creating whatever could to either record or not record, but just to do it. And there's just something about it. And even with podcasts and stuff, it's a lost art. It's not what it was, and it's something I personally love and cherish. And before we go to break real fast, I saw you on that you're on WCCO.
yes.
And I just, I don't know if you remember like Boone and Erickson. Or, I mean, it's just to me that is radio. WCCO. It's just it's really really neat. So that's a great answer. Why don't we do this? Let's go ahead. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, we have a lot more questions for Dave. We are recording this over at the Anderson House in Wabasha, Minnesota. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. And welcome back to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. We are at the Anderson House. We're in Wabasha, Minnesota. We have had a fantastic weekend. We're actually, as recording this, we're only halfway through, and this has been a lot of fun. Thank you all so much for joining us in this weekend. This was fantastic. I mean, granted, I know, right?
Enough with the clapping, Greg. Let's move on. These people are worn out.
I mean, you all are confused now. It's very clear. Before we get to the next question, we were talking about broadcasting, and is there a famous or favorite radio host that you just really are like, I liked his style and I maybe have emulated it a little bit, or that you just love listening? Because I'll tell you, like Cousin Brucey, I cannot be a Cousin Brucey, and he used to be on, I was listening to him on Sirius XM, which he's not on anymore if I'm not mistaken, but I love that cadence. Is there someone that you kind of feel that way about?
Well, like I said, I grew up in Chicago in the height of great radio, 70s, 80s, 90s, right? Hearing that real radio personality that was allowed to be a full-on personality. So I grew up with Larry Lujak and Little Tommy. I grew up with Steve Dahl and Gary Meyer out there, Wally Phillips on WGN, Roy Leonard. And a lot of these guys, like I said, would take my actual phone calls and answer my calls for years as a child, and helping me through it. So that's one aspect. The other one is Art Bell, right? Art Bell from Coast to Coast AM, and I share one awesome thing that can never be taken away from me. I got to host Coast to Coast for 5 years, so I got to be a host on Art Bell's first paranormal show, and then when Art Bell passed away, his final show, which was called Midnight in the Desert, I stepped in and took over the reins of that show for 2 years. So I got a chance to do Art's first and last shows. The only other person that got to do that was Art Bell. So I share that in my Rolodex of accomplishments, and that's something that really pleases me.
That is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I promise we're going to get to a question here, but I do want to ask, what is it about being a radio host that really appealed to you? I mean, not now, but when you wanted to get into it.
Well, when I did, I also used to love to listen to those little old-time radio cassettes of The Shadow and, and The Lone Ranger and all of these shows. So I loved the theater of the mind aspect. And I loved a good, like Larry Lujak and Tommy Edwards used to do animal stories. And they would read these hysterical stories about animals doing weird things, right? And just the pure laughter and enjoyment they got out of talking to each other and sharing these stories and how people love them. I just was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And let's face it, I was born with a face for radio. So that was a good position for my career, is to fill in on that. So I just love those elements of being able to kind of help transport and teleport people along with me on the ride. What I've done that I've taken some criticism for, but have gotten many more accolades for, is doing my show. I don't spend a lot of time learning the background of my guest and learning the background of the book. I'll read a blurb or two from their highlights, because I always feel like when you know too much about a subject, you stop asking the questions that new listeners don't know. So I've always tried to engage the listener in a way that lets them feel like they're part of this process with me. And some of the best compliments I ever get is every time I come up with a question, it's the next question out of your mouth. And I like feeling that I'm tied to people that way.
Absolutely. And I do the same thing, which is why the first time you came on, I was asking you so much about Pawn Stars. So, So,
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
So, okay, let's get back to everyone else's questions because we can
Yes.
just talk about broadcasting all night.
They used to say I look like Bruce Willis. Now I just look like the guy that ate Bruce Willis. So it's
What do you got for us, Shar?
Okay, I'm excited to ask this question. I'm glad Kyle asked this one because I know this part about you. So
Okay.
that's why I wanted some time for this question.
All right.
His question is, you've been given full permission for an investigation of the White House by the president. You can pick 3 people plus your camera crew for the investigation with no budget. Who do you pick and what is your strategy?
it's like a game of Risk, right?
And welcome to this extended episode of
Yeah.
GhostBox Radio.
No, it's easy. I would pick Cindy Kaza as a medium because she's one of the best. I would pick Shane Pittman again because let's send him to the basement of the White House. There's got to be some scary stuff in that basement. It would be Shane, Cindy, and Jeff Belanger because I know that would be something that would bring unfettered joy to my buddy Jeff Belanger's life. And Jeff is the host of New England Legends TV series and podcast, and he has been the lead writer on the TV show Ghost Adventure since it began. So he's really invested in this and loves the history as much as I do, probably even more so. That would be my team that I would take in with me. And the tactic would literally be just hitting the main points and areas that we know are really active, some of the side rooms that you wouldn't think would be where they have experiences. I would, certainly the Lincoln bedroom would be one example. And even out in the Rose Garden, out in the garden area, there's a lot of crazy things going on. But that would be an amazing place to just be in, whether, and I kind of look at that no matter where I go. Whether I have an experience or not, right now I'm in the oldest hotel in Minnesota history, and it's still running. So knowing that there have been famous people that have come through these doors and infamous moments that have happened here, and now in a way I'm part of that book. I'm part of the history and chapter of this. Not something that will be, talked about for decades unless I murder someone during tonight's ghost hunt, which there's a possibility.
Highly probable.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, I've got a couple people in mind. So, I love the opportunity to be out there and hit these things up and to have that chance and to know that so many people, dignitaries, ambassadors, travelers have stayed at the White House and have all shared similar stories with engaging with the ghost of Abraham Lincoln and even the children, Lincoln's children that passed away. So that would be what I would do. To break it all down, it would be hard because, we'd be setting up everywhere and filming nonstop. But I also want to drag in some of the old pages and some of the old butlers that work there to have them be a part of it because they had experiences all the time.
Nothing would be off the table.
No.
I mean, it's one of the biggest investigations of your lifetime.
And I would totally jump up and down on the president's bed. And that's not a slight against the president, but when are you ever going to get to jump on the president's bed?
I mean, especially we don't know when this episode airs, so
That's
it
right.
could be anybody,
Could
really.
be,
So,
yeah.
I do want to say, over the weekend, and we've talked a few times about Holzer Files and Ghost of Devil's Perch, but you've mentioned a number of times in great detail of the affection you have for Shane and Cindy as being a team and stuff. And, it just probably be an odd question, but getting into like Holzer Files, you probably had no idea that you three are going to create such a bond.
No.
I mean, to see where you are now, that's really cool to hear how, let's keep the band together as much as possible. I love that.
I do too. And, there's been moments where people are like, oh, Dave and Cindy went off to do Ghost of Devil's Perch and they dropped Shane. That wasn't our choice. But we were happy to work with Katie Stafford. But the same production company that did our show did 28 Days Haunted. And as I was talking to the lead executive producer, he goes, man, I'm in a bind. We lost a team. I need a 3-person team. And I go, you were disappointed you couldn't put Shane on Ghosts of with us. Why don't you bring Shane and his team, the Searchers, in? And they picked him and one other member of the team. And then he said, do you know a good medium? And I said, I do. And I introduced him to Amy. And so that I got to put together that little clique on that series, which made me feel real good. So Shane continued on TV. We continued. Cindy now continues as the replacement for Amy Allen on Dead Files. And people are like, aren't you disappointed? No, I relish when my sisters and brothers succeed in this business. And I hope that someday we'll be able to regain and come together to work on other projects. But if we don't, I have amazing memories of the time that we got to work together, and I look forward to making new friendships and bonds.
That's fantastic. Let's do another question.
Okay, so we had two people ask kind of the same question. So both Kim and Lisa.
It's boxer briefs.
Perfect.
Next
All right.
question.
Well,
Yeah.
kind of fits.
I'm indecisive that way. Why choose one or the other? Just boxer
the
briefs.
question was,
Yes.
what is the most haunted location you've been to, and is it your underwear drawer? Then?
Yes. I can't say the most haunted location I've ever been to because there are so many that are so active. Waverly Hills Sanatorium would definitely be up there. Rolling Hills in New York. The Queen Mary in Long Beach, California. The Stanley Hotel in Estes Park. Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia. The Mansfield Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. The Palmer House up in Sauk Center, Minnesota, and now my opportunity here at the Anderson House has been pretty remarkable. So it's really hard for me to say that. And I filmed at so many fantastic places for the TV shows that like I said, I'm part of that history forever and a day. I'll be part of that history. And I love that I get to do that.
Do you have a preference over going to an established place versus one that you've never had any experience of whatsoever?
No, whatever. I'm open to going out. This is my passion. You know, I said as a child, I wanted to be a radio show host. Yep. As a child, I loved the paranormal. These are two concurrent passions of mine that I found a way to bring together and do what I do. And I've been now doing paranormal radio for almost 18 years and have had the chance to take myself out from behind the microphone like you do. And instead of just being a host, hearing about the experience, I go put myself in the experience. I want to challenge the things I hear. I want to go out and involve myself in these moments. So each place holds a different amazing memory for me for different reasons and powerful moments, you know, being thrown 2 times on episodes, having something feel like it exploded inside me for Ghost to Devil's Perch, being bitten on the arm by an unseen force. So, you know, those are... Maybe the rest of the ghost hunt wasn't that active, but those brief moments were like, holy macaroni, what's going on?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll try to watch my language.
Yeah, no, I will have to beep that later,
Yeah.
of course. What else do you got?
Okay, this is a really interesting one.
Sure.
So this is from Beth. Mm-hmm. Have you or do you plan to investigate underwater unidentified objects?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I would like to start this year personally. I've been holding my breath for hours underwater.
You know what? If I could find a cool place, I'm going to have to learn scuba first. Right? That's an important lesson. That would be helpful. Let's be honest, I'm not an outdoors person. I'm a very pasty white indoorsman. So going down into these places seems like I would be better suited on the boat while sending Shane and Cindy down to investigate, because I could take writing mine and Shane's, and then you've seen Cindy automatic write. It's easier to read my writing. Let's just say that, all right? Yeah. So they go down, they investigate. I'm there to make sure that their story is told. So if they, don't make it to the surface, somebody that loves them is there to share their tales.
I mean, that's brave.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really brave.
I'm a bit of a giver.
No, absolutely.
I'm a bit of a giver.
I'm impressed with that answer.
Yeah.
They may not be. But I have a feeling they would guess.
If that's a way to go, right? Like I was just I was at GalaxyCon, and GalaxyCon is these great nerd sci-fi fests all over the United States, and I got to go out to Raleigh, North Carolina, and here I'm talking to Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall, and News Radio, and he was the voice of Flick from A Bug's Life, and here we are talking and sharing this passion about UFOs. And then he goes, I have some friends joining. Do you mind if they come over? I'm like, no, that's fine. And Todd Stashwick from Picard, season 3, comes over and hangs out. And then Harry freaking Hamlin walks up, right? It sounds like a joke all of a sudden, right? And Perseus from Clash of the Titans. And everybody had a story to share and a thing. And, the whole concept of would you go down there? Listen, Shane and Cindy may perish in a Titanic way, but that's a pretty good way to have your headstone read, right? Drowned to death while Dave Schrader watched. That would I would make sure that that's how the gravestone's read as well. But
did you talk? I mean, I don't know.
Todd Stashwick wants to be beat to death by a Sasquatch because he's like, you don't want to go out with cancer, you don't want to go out driving, but it would be kind of kick-ass, right? That's the way people. They may not remember the rest of his career, but that guy went out getting beat to death by Bigfoot.
Now I just want to do an episode about Picard.
Yes.
Only season 3 though.
Yes.
So the thing about and you made me lose my place. Okay, I remember where I'm at.
Would it help if I kissed you?
Absolutely not. I suddenly remembered, like right now, it's like popped right back in my head. Talking with Dave Foley.
Yes.
Did you ask him at all what it was like to work with like Phil Hartman or anything?
I have not. I have not tread on that
kind of
water.
Weird, right?
Because when I go to these places and I'm hanging around with massive celebrities, right? Again, why am I there? I don't know. I love being there. I love having these times, but I'm getting to hang out with these major celebrities and comedians and people I've grown up watching on TV and in movies. So when we're there, we're kind of peers in a sense. Absolutely. So I don't want to talk to them about, remember when you were in Star Trek? You know, I feel like I'm such a nerd, I shouldn't do that. So I talk to them about Bigfoot or UFOs or ghosts. But it's funny, on the other side of things, all they want to talk to me about is the paranormal when they find out what I do, right? So it's kind of a weird reversal. But I get to shine in those moments, and I love it. And I will say, you know what's kind of cool doing some of these conventions? I've done Wizard World and Fan Expos and GalaxyCon. And this is to you guys listening and watching. I would go in and do these conventions, and I got asked to do GalaxyCon Minnesota. And I go in to do my talk, and it's like 8 o'clock at night. They close the doors at 6, the regular convention. I'm like, nobody's going to be here. There's 12 people in the room. I walk in. The lady gets done doing her talk, leaves. 6 of the people leave. I'm like, oh, I've only got 6 people. Ooh, all right, put it on. And I did a great show for them. 15 minutes in, one of the employees comes in and starts looking at his watch, and he's tapping his foot. And then he moves up closer to me and keeps walking. I go, can I help you? And he goes, you need to move on. The next speaker's coming. And I'm like, I only got 20 minutes? And he goes, no, the next speaker was supposed to start. And I go, who's the next speaker? He goes, Dave Schrader. I go, I am Dave Schrader. And he goes, oh, beep, and runs to the back door and opens it, and there's a mile-long line. Oh. And we packed our room at 8 o'clock at night for the paranormal. And it was so packed, they went and got the people running the event to bring them over there to show them the room. People were sitting in the center aisle, wrapped around the room. It was a fire hazard. If something would have burst into flames, only I would escape through the exit behind me.
So it'd be Cindy Kaza, Shane, who you don't mind perishing, and then thousands of people.
It's not that I wouldn't mind them perishing. But I would be the good voice to carry their stories on. I'm TV's Dave Schrader.
Well, we'll let everyone kind of think about what was just said here. We're going to go ahead and take another break. When we come back, we got some more questions for Dave Schrader, TV's Dave Schrader. We're at the Anderson House. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. And welcome back to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. We are here at the Anderson House in Wabasha, Minnesota. Now, seriously, folks, are you tired of doing that? All right. Then do it again. Even more exciting, we have Mr. Dave Schrader with us tonight. And
thanks, Mom.
We'll be handing out the E for Effort ribbons later. So we've been talking and having some questions that everyone in the audience have given to Dave, and we're going to spend the rest of the last segment talking and doing more of these questions, I guess. What you got for us, Shar?
Okay, so has anything ever followed you home?
No, but I got a couple in my eye right now that I wouldn't mind. I don't know, because I'm not mediumistic or psychic in the sense that I can turn around and go, oh, ghost from the Wabasha house that I was in, right, the Anderson house. I don't know where they come from, but what I always tell people is it's like a magnet is a haunted house. and this spoon is not magnetized. It's just a spoon. But if I rub this spoon on the magnet long enough and then take it away, I can maybe pick up a bunch of paper clips with it, right? You get that daisy chain effect. Because you've been in the place, you've been around the haunting, does it kind of stick to you for a while? And I think it does. So leaving, sometimes I have things happen, but I don't know if it's because I'm more tuned in at that time. But I can't say it's necessarily a ghost from that's followed me home. It might be one from the airport, or, I had a neighbor pass away while I was gone filming the Holzer Files, and I pulled in the driveway, and I saw his wife, and I'm like, hey, how are you guys doing? And her face dropped, and she goes, didn't you hear? And I said, no. And she goes, yeah, my husband passed away a few weeks ago. And I was like, oh, man. She goes, he just wanted to sit down and talk to you about his paranormal stories, and we were, just both kind of commiserating about that for a few seconds, and it broke my heart that we talked all the time briefly in the backyard and stuff, but we never got to sit down and share those tales. And I came back from filming, and all of a sudden some weird stuff started happening in my house. And at one point, we were in the living room watching TV, and all of us turned and looked to the kitchen because we saw a man walk through the kitchen. And it was quick and fleeting, but all of us saw it. So was it him, or was it some, spirit from where I came from? I can't tell.
That is really interesting. And you always say that you don't really, and you pick up energy, right? Though so you can
to a degree sometimes.
To a degree.
Yeah.
So like when you started doing this, you weren't picking up anything like 18 years ago.
I don't know. I'm not a well-developed medium or psychic in any way, shape, or form, but I've had very powerful moments. I think back to New Year's Eve of 1988. It was a month before my son was going to be born. I was staying sober cab for all my friends that night, New Year's Eve, driving everybody home after the parties. And I was supposed to spend the night at my buddy's house. And every time I passed my family street to drop somebody off, I just had these flashes in my head of seeing my mom collapsing, seeing my mom being brought out to an ambulance, seeing my mom in the hospital. And it was just really unsettling. And I've never had anything like this. And I went to my friend Tom's at the end of the night after driving 15 drunkards home, right? And I went to his house, and we're sitting there watching a movie, and about 15 minutes into it, I go, I got to go. Something's wrong. I don't feel right. I got to go home. He's like, all right. I got home, walked in the living room, or walked into the kitchen to get a drink. My mom comes shuffling out with crazy hair and squinty eye, and how was your night? I'm like, good. And she goes, all right, well, I'll go to the bathroom. We'll talk about it. I said, all right. She turned around and boom, went straight down. She had a grand mal seizure. Yeah, and so I was there I'd sensed that, and it brought me home. She turned out fine and had lived another nice long life 30 years after that, so thankfully she was with us. But yeah, it's just very, very weird. So I've had limited abilities, and there are times I could go to someplace and sense something, but it's different now, 18 years in, and really investing into this with my time and passion and love, and opening my heart more to the other side. Instead of just wanting to see cool stuff, I opened my heart to wanting to have the full experience so that maybe I could help.
With the work you do in the paranormal and how you investigate, would you want your gifts to be opened up more, or are you happy where they are right now?
Well, sure. If I could see and know where the spirit is better than just sensing there's something in this room, because what is something? Right? I'd like to know, is there a ghost standing there? Is there a way? I really, as much as weird as it is, I'd love to be like the ghost whisperer on TV. I would love to just help spirits accomplish what they need to let them go, and make sure that people get to hear their stories, because I think that's an important part. Nobody really wants to be forgotten. And I think it's, the old saying is you die 3 times. When you physically die, when they put you in the ground, and the last time somebody utters your name, right? And that one is the scary one. So, I'd like to be there to help people keep those names going.
And it is interesting, like if you ever read Sartre, and not to get too into it, it's the whole idea of like these spirits in a room, and they only get to leave the room if someone says their name, someone remembers them. It's that whole thing with like, I don't think any of us really believes that's true, but the idea of, like you said, being forgotten.
Right.
So,
or having people misrepresent your story, which is what happened in a lot of Holzer stories. And we were really pleased to be able to put kind of a final nail in the end of some of these stories by getting the story right and telling that story. And that's really powerful to me. That means a lot. And that's why I feel so happy that even if I only got 23 episodes, I got to help 23 people be remembered in a much better way.
And be the representative, one of the representatives of such an incredible legacy.
Yeah.
Let's do another question. I think we can do a couple more here.
All right, so this is Kyle again. He's pretty inquisitive. So what can this generation do to normalize the paranormal for the next generation?
Stop being douches to people. When you watch these paranormal shows, instead of shredding them and picking on the people because they're not doing it your way, encourage them. You know, listen, I have no qualms about saying I'm friends with the guys from Ghost Adventures and have been since they began their adventure. And there's a lot of people that just like to take shots at Ghost Adventures. And I've warned them, the minute Ghost Adventures goes off the air is probably the minute paranormal TV dies. And, oh no, there's much better shows. Maybe I believe Holzer Files was a far superior show in what we did. Mm-hmm. But Ghost Adventures has kicked the door open and has stayed relevant since it went on the air like 17 years ago. And that's pretty powerful. And they're always changing and adapting and trying to make it something more accessible to people. I think you just have to stop bashing. If you don't like it, just shut up and watch a different show that you do like. Put your money where your mouth is and support the good stuff. Stop crapping on the other stuff, because then that causes more derision amongst us. And then it just shows the outsiders who are afraid to enter our realm and talk openly. And listen, the doors have been blown open for 18 years now. People are now having water cooler talk. Yeah. People from every angle are talking about their paranormal experiences. Let's not push them back into the closet by showing that we can't even get along with one another. So I really think for this next generation, although paranormal unity is a tough pill to swallow because everybody has an ego and everybody believes their way is the right way, I don't. I love to learn. I completely adapt. That's why law and medical are always practicing, because that's what makes you perfect. So I'm always learning and I'm always trying new ways to do things, because I don't think I know all the answers. And I would like to continue that journey and continue trying to bring those answers to the future.
Do you think we're much closer now than 18 years ago?
Yeah, I didn't even know you 18 years ago.
No, I mean, this is as close as I'd like to get.
Oh, okay.
But as far as paranormal, as far as being able to have meaningful communication with spirits, from your perspective, do you think that there has been great advancement from the time you got into this?
No, I don't think there's been great advancement in 200 years. Yeah. We're still doing what we've always done, seeking the counsel of mediums and psychics and Ouija boards and audio recorders and tools and things to try to make that communication. We haven't made the complete leap yet. But science, like the UFO stuff we're finding out, there's a lot more that they've done and found that they have not opened up to us, that I hope that will be the next line of disclosure.
Absolutely. Let's get to another question, Char.
Okay, so this one is from Brian. With the canceling of the paranormal shows, many are moving over to YouTube. Do you think that YouTube will become the next home for these shows, or is there something else coming?
I don't know. You know, I'm still an owner of a Betamax machine, so I'm not always quick to adapt and change. For those of you that don't know what a Betamax machine or a VHS player is, it could be. I mean, you've got, Shane was on me when Destination Fear became Project Fear, and they took the leap, and he's like, let's do this. People want us back. I said, the one thing that they have on their side that we don't is we were canceled 2 years ago, and our admirers are on the slide. Destination Fear was canceled 2 months ago. Their last episode aired a month ago.
Yeah.
There's still passion, love, and people want more, so they put the money in today. And I struggle with anxiety, depression, and something that's called the imposter syndrome. So to me, throwing it open to the crowd to fund a new series for us, what if we only got $500 after Destination Fear raised $750,000? So, part of my fear was I don't want to make an ass of myself by throwing this open and finding out that the passion is not there for our show that we hoped there would be.
Yeah.
And because Alexandra Holzer is now on doing her own thing with her family name, the Holzer Files are closed to us. But there are some interesting production companies doing new things. I will be filming later on this year for a couple of new projects that I like what they're doing. They're going to film 6 or 7 episodes. They're getting the financing. They're filming these episodes themselves. They're actual big-time producers. And then they're going to try to sell those series to networks. So we're kind of doing it backwards, right?
And as we finish up this episode, I wanted to jump in real fast and, let people know that we do events like this all the time. We have this great event at the Anderson House with Dave Schrader that went extraordinarily well. But we also have other events coming up, too, that we're really excited about. We're doing Ghost Stories and Beyond at Billy's Bar and Grill on September 6th at 6:30 p.m. Our guest is going to be Witch Jody. That's WITCH from Midwest Witchery and Healing. She's a real live Salem witch, and we're going to talk about that. So join us at Billy's Bar and Grill on September 6th. We also have an event at the Jasper Masonic Lodge and the historic Grant House in Rush City, Minnesota. That's really exciting. That's going to happen over the weekend of September 22nd and 23rd. Friday, the 22nd is going to be at the Grant House, and then the 23rd is going to be over at the Jasper Masonic Lodge. This is going to be great. No one's investigated there before, so it's going to be a great event. Go to charvinity.com/event-list to get more details on that event. There's a lot of ways to join in and take part in the event. You don't get into Masonic lodges very often, and they were very kind to let us do that. So that is something that I, for one, am really excited about, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited that we can bring this to people who want to take part in them. So we do a lot of events. We do a lot of different things. Now, join us tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. It's going to be Casual Friday, like it normally is, but what we're really excited about, we're going to have Patty Vasquez join us for the first part of the episode. You may know Patty Vasquez from Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, the show that airs directly after mine on AM 950. We're really excited to have her on. We're going to be talking some paranormal. We're going to see if she has any experiences or if she just thinks that we're a bunch of weirdos. Either way, it's going to be a great time. And really looking forward to that being on there. And as you know, Casual Fridays, it's always a little bit more fun. It's a little bit more laughter. So, and Patty, if you've listened to her show, you know it's all about laughter. So I'm excited for that. I'm really excited for all the stuff we have going on. And I hope that you take part in it as well, because there is a lot of great opportunities to be able to speak to our spirit friends. We're just about running out of time here. Dave, I wanted to thank you so very much
My pleasure.
for being a part of this today. I hope you had a good time. I hope you don't mind the ribbing.
Not at all.
But everything I said was true. So that being said, thank you, everybody out here.
And please remember, tune in to the best in paranormal talk radio, the Paranormal 60 with Dave Schrader.
If you can find it, we'll see you around, everybody.